Yeah, you gotta do a job I really don't want to do. Brakes! Yay! I hate brakes. So, that's my brake line leak. Actually, it's a little further back, but that's where I cut it. And from there on out, it's pretty good. Right there, right where it hits the coily stuff, she gets nasty. She kind of runs up, goes underneath this bracket, runs along the bottom here, runs parallel to the tank, then goes up to this fitting here, which then is a T, or kind of a T, not shape of a T. I undid this bolt and simply this just shattered. Wasn't leaking here, it's actually leaking like over there, but it was going to leak there. So, because then it goes, this line would go into the side, goes up, loops back down, that line goes underneath the car to the opposite side. This one comes out of the back, goes up, comes down, goes to the rubber line, and then to the caliper. So, hopefully this is the same as that, because I'll probably, when it's all said and done, I'll probably be replacing everything. That's the nice part about a 1990 Buick Reatta in the middle of Wisconsin that gets driven in the winter. You get that. Yeah, my door's getting rough. Rockers are getting bad. But got some good jack stands. These are not some Harbor Freight ones. What are these? That kind. They're that kind. But yeah, I'd put the Cadillac wheels on here. I put these tires on the Cadillac to see if that solves my shake in the Cadillac, and it kind of did. But now I want the Cadillac wheels on here to see if the shake goes onto this car, because this car had no shake. So it'd be kind of interesting to see if it's the actual tires that are causing my shake in the Cadillac or not. But I know this project isn't going to get done today, because I'm running out of time. And then the 96 Camaro needs, actually I already have it installed. I just got to hook up the lines and then bleed the brakes. So this car I was having some issues with. The brakes would work great. And I'd go through like a town and it would work all but like one of them. It quit working and the pedal would go right down to the floor. And then you hit the brakes again and they work great. And then once again, one pump continuously for a while. So I was like, well, that's kind of weird. You think if it's the master, it'd do it all the time. So I was thinking the ABS unit. Then one of the last times I drove this car a couple months ago, I'm like, well, I'll go to Pulaski, I'll take the back roads. And all of a sudden just my front brakes locked up. Well, I had a line lock right in here. And I'm like, well, if it's just the front brakes, maybe it's my line lock. But no, then I started seeing the leak. There was leaking along the back. So I'm like, well, it's probably both. It's a combination problem. So I bypassed the line lock, removed it, and then I just gotta hook these lines up. But I don't want to hook them up until I can get some assistance in bleeding the brakes. So unfortunately, there's brake fluid dripping all over the inside of the car, and well, that's good for the paint. Keeps it clean, right? But yeah, so this is my current project. So I spent about $100 in brake lines, fittings, and everything else. I bought a bunch of fittings so I don't have to run one giant line, and then I bought 3 like 6-foot or 5-foot sections of brake line, And instead of running all 5 feet, trying to make it in just as little pieces as possible, I'm going to add a bunch of unions and stuff. Makes installing a lot easier when you're not dealing with a 4.5 foot piece that's all bent up and trying to fit it in spots, because I'm sure when they put the brake lines on this car, the subframe was probably out and no fuel tank, and so it was easy then. It's not so easy now. Then this is my line lock. So looks like I'll be purchasing another one of these. When it's all said and done next year, I might put this back in to see if this was the part of the problem. Maybe just because my master was going bad, this was malfunction. I don't know why, but or vice versa. Maybe this was malfunctioning, causing my master to go bad. Either way, I'm gonna hang on to it. If it works, it still works. It's cool. If not, well, I'll just get another one. So, yeah, fun times are about to be had. Not. Here we are. Some of the bolts came out. These surprisingly did. This also holds the parking brake cable and kind of just holds these up there. Luckily, all the fuel lines are plastic, thus making this really, because what's one thing I was worried about, I'm like, oh God, if the brake lines are this bad, you know your fuel lines are gonna be just as bad. Nope, they're plastic, we're good. Good to go. But what I'm going to do is highly not recommended, but with a car with 200,000 miles on it, 230,000 to be exact, or 240. 240, I think. I'm curious. I'm quite sure it's 240. 240. 243.88 to be exactly. So, and never once did I touch the parking brake cable, because that would have been scary. So, I'm going to do something that's going to give me about 5,000 ponies power who are dead, so 5,000 dead pony power. And I'm going to cut out the parking brake cable for weight reduction. Actually, more just to get it out of my way, and it's never been used since I've owned it. And it's kind of in the way, so it's going to go. If you live in a state with inspections, you can't do that. But I don't. So, we're good to go. Alright, so I got the first half of the section done. Got her bent up. And I got these pieces here, like this would go there. And this kind of like that. But hopefully this ain't no goofy, some kind of regulating valve or something goofy, because that would suck. We're replacing her with just a simple brass T-fitting. So, definitely getting there. By the end of part one. I ended up cracking the line that goes into the caliper, so that rubber line's got to get replaced. That bolt there, that sucker's not coming out, and I got no good sharp drill bits, so I cut the bracket. I'll probably just drill it, maybe drill that a little bigger, put some kind of insert in there, and then bolt this to that insert. But I did get the line that runs in the back there bent up, so this should look like something like that. Comes down, I got the clamp off the other line. Right there's my T-fitting. And then this line's the one that goes across the car. A lot of it looks pretty good yet, so I'm going to try not to, or at least on this side it looks good. No. So I'm going to try not to change that line if I don't have to. So what I'm doing is I'm soaking it in, just in case, I'm soaking it in acetone and transmission fluid. Hopefully that'll break some of that rust loose. I'll be soaking it all week since I work both my jobs, so I won't have any time to work on this project during the week, but tackle her next weekend then. So, but I'm sure my town's gonna love me. Car sitting on the side of the road, on jack stands. Camaro with no brakes. Oh well. Welcome to a little redneck town. That's what you get. But yeah, that's where we're at. So this is going to conclude probably part 1, and then part 2 we'll pick up next weekend.